In my last video, I talked about the law of reflection, how our external reality is a mirror of our inner world, how negative comments in our social feed or in different areas of our life is reflecting an inner wound within us. Now, today on this video, I'm going to talk about another law, the law of projection, and this is how someone else projects their own wound onto us. How one negative comment in your world is someone else's issue and not something that you need to be worried about, and the difference between the two and how they differently impact our reality. My name is Lisa. I'm an intuitive guide, an energy reader, and I am here to discuss all things energy, diving into the energetics of relationships, sacred union, embodiment, pleasure, and life in general. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. So the law of projection, what it is, what you cannot own in yourself, you will unconsciously project onto someone else. And it can look a little bit differently, okay? So let's say one example is you see someone and you think they are so funny. And you're kind of jealous because you're like, oh man, I wish I was that funny. Or I wish I looked that way. Or I wish I had the talent that they did. What you are doing is you are taking these identities, these gifts that you have suppressed within yourself and projecting them onto someone else. And so what you wish you had within yourself, you are seeing within someone else. Another way that the law of projection works, and I feel like we can all relate to this because it happens a lot, is you can either be the projector or the projectee. So if you are the projector, someone is talking to you and it triggers you. All of a sudden you feel your nervous system get ramped up and you get really angry or really insecure or really anxious or panicky or really fearful. And then your response is a projection, is a verbal slaying, let's say, is something where you're like, ooh, that was a lot. Like they just trigger you and you vomit all the emotions, all the energy that you have been suppressing down within you onto this person. They were the straw that broke the camel's back. Or on the reverse side, maybe you said something to someone and you watched this whole scene happen and they became very triggered and came at you hard. And you're like, whoa, taken off guard. That is a law of projection and how it works. So the difference between the law of reflection and the law of projection, so you understand, because they can also both be happening at the same time. So the law of reflection and the law of projection, how do we tell the difference? What is the difference? The law of reflection is usually a pattern. You recognize that there's a common thread running through either multiple areas of your life or maybe in just one area of your life, but the negative comments or the negativity is relatively the same in that area of your life. The law of projection is usually more out of the blue. Usually it's more kind of shocking, or if it's less, it may be a one-off, or there may be a lot of space in between when it happens. So that's the main difference between the two. And again, they can also happen at the same time. So someone can be projecting onto you and you are also attracting that projection into your world based on what your own inner critic, your own inner judge. So grounded steps with the law of projection and how we can prevent this is, let's say you are triggered and you want to lash out at someone. You want to project your hurt, your anger onto someone. It's important to take a breath, take a step back, and ask yourself why. Get curious about what's really underneath this. Do I not feel seen or heard or met or understood? A lot of times that is what is underneath it. Do I feel unworthy? Because projection is a wound that you are throwing at someone else. And if you are using the law of projection in a way where you are projecting your suppressed talents and gifts on someone, like, oh my gosh, they are so loving and so nurturing, and ask yourself, why do I feel I'm not that in my life? Why am I suppressing my own sense of lovingness and sense of nurturing or sense of caretaking? And on the other side, if you're the one being projected onto, it's important that you stop, take a beat, and wait before you respond. Now, when you are in engagement with someone who is projecting their wound onto you, their nervous system is ramped up, and most likely they won't be able to have a grounded and rational conversation. And so by you responding, you're fueling their fire, per se. Like, you are giving them energy, and it's going to ramp up the conversation in general. So it's best to not respond, but if you feel that you need to hold a boundary, then you want to make your response clear and in a way that sovereignly says, I am going to end this conversation. And be curious on asking yourself, is this a projection? Did it come out of the blue? Or is this a reflection where I'm seeing this similar theme multiple times in a row, and it's best for me to get curious inside on what this is reflecting to me? There are two distinct skills here: knowing when to look inward and stay curious, and knowing when to stop, take a beat, take a breath, and recognize this may be someone else's wounding showing up in your world. This is exactly what we do in my blueprint soul session, is we look at the origins of how the energy is flowing within your life. We look at where you may be projecting your limiting beliefs or wounding into the world, and we look at what are you attracting within your life? What patterns are you recognizing in different areas of your life that may be rooted in some sort of inner judge or inner critic, and thus creating your reality. If you'd like to learn more, comment blueprint in the comments and I'll send you more information.